Welcome to G Fun Facts Online, where we dive into the fascinating and sometimes unsettling parts of our world. Today, we're exploring a heavy topic: the grave responsibility of power and the violence that can be directed at those who hold it. It's a reality as old as civilization itself, a volatile mix of law, morality, and human psychology. When a public official is targeted, it's not just a crime against one person. It's an attack on the very stability of a society. So how did we get here, and what makes someone resort to such an extreme act? Let's unpack the complex issue of political violence. To understand the present, we have to look to the past. And the idea of killing a ruler has had a wild journey. In ancient Greece and Rome, it wasn't always seen as a crime. In fact, killing a tyrant, an act they called tyrannicide, was often celebrated as a civic duty. The most famous example? The assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BCE. The senators who did it claimed they were saving the Republic. But of course, it's never that simple, and the label of tyrant could easily be a political tool to justify murder. Fast forward to the Middle Ages in Europe, and the script completely flips. With the rise of the divine right of kings, the monarch was seen as God's chosen representative. Killing them wasn't just a crime, it was a sacrilegious act against God himself. But as the Renaissance brought back classical ideas, the debate around tyrannicide reignited. Then came the modern era, and a huge shift towards banning assassination in international law. A key moment was the 1863 Lieber Code during the American Civil War, one of the first formal rules against assassination. And after the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand kicked off World War I, the world got serious about solidifying this ban. Today, we have a complex web of laws to protect officials. Internationally, a key document is the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. It gives diplomats immunity from prosecution in their host country. This isn't a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's a tool to ensure they can do their jobs without fear, fostering smooth international relations. Then, in 1973, the UN adopted a convention specifically to protect people like heads of state and government ministers from terrorism. It includes a crucial principle, aut dedere, aut judicare. It's a Latin phrase that basically means a country must either prosecute an offender found on their territory or hand them over to a country that will. There's no hiding. Domestically, countries have their own strict laws. In the United States, for example, threatening, assaulting, or murdering a federal official is a major felony, designed to protect everyone from the president to federal judges and their families. But even with all these laws, the ethical debate hasn't gone away. The idea of tyrannicide still pops up in philosophical discussions. Thinkers like John Locke argued that people have a right to overthrow a tyrannical government that violates their rights. Even Abraham Lincoln believed assassination could be a last resort against a true tyrant. But this is a slippery slope. Who gets to decide who is a tyrant? The label is subjective and can be twisted to justify violence for personal gain. And history shows us that killing a leader, even a bad one, often leads to more chaos, not liberation. It can create a martyr and strengthen the very movement it was meant to stop. This brings us to the mind of the assailant. What drives a person to commit such an act? Researchers have identified a few recurring themes. First, there's ideological extremism. Some assassins are driven by intense political or religious beliefs. They see the official as a symbol of an evil system, and in their mind, violence is a noble act for a greater good. Then there's social alienation and personal grievance. Many attackers are loners who feel disconnected from society. They project their own failures and frustrations onto a public figure, who becomes the target for all their anger. Finally, psychological disturbances can play a role. Issues like narcissism or paranoia can lead someone to believe they are destined to change history with one dramatic act. Now, it's a dangerous oversimplification to say all assassins are mentally ill, but a significant number of lone wolf attackers do have a history of mental health problems. The impact of an attack on an official sends shockwaves through society. It shatters our sense of security and trust in our institutions. It can create widespread fear and anxiety. For children, it can be especially traumatic, normalizing aggression and causing long-term psychological issues. Many of us experience what psychologists call a flashbulb memory for these events, a vivid recollection of where we were when we heard the news. These shared memories can unite a nation in grief, but they can also deepen political divides and unrest. So, protecting public officials is a perpetual challenge with no easy answers. It forces a difficult conversation about power, law, and human nature. While security and legal frameworks are essential, they aren't enough. The real solution requires a deeper commitment, upholding the rule of law, fostering a political culture where violence is never the answer, and addressing the social and psychological issues that can push individuals to the edge. It's a constant effort to protect the very foundations of a stable and just society. Thanks for joining us on Fun Facts Online.